Bernie Sanders wants to help democratize the American workplace. Here's why that matters so much. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. If this is your first time here, please click the subscribe button. It'll allow you to get my content as soon as it comes up. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I support Bernie Sanders for one reason above all, which is that he's helping to bring a new perspective to American politics that hasn't either been seen before or hasn't been seen in a long, long time. And Bernie Sanders spends a lot of his time talking about his democratic socialist vision. But you know, that's often limited to social programs. A lot of the ways we talk about Bernie Sanders and socialism is that it means quote-unquote free stuff. You know, education and Medicare for all and on and on and on. But we don't talk a whole lot about what socialism actually means. And what socialism actually means is the democratic control of industry by the working class and for the working class. And that's something that social programs are a part of. After all, any decent socialist society is going to need universal health care, universal education, universal child care, and all those sorts of things. But those are not the outward boundaries of socialism. And really, socialism is about that democratic control. And what Bernie Sanders understands and is trying to articulate is that democratic socialism is predicated on taking democracy beyond the ballot box into the workplace. As Bernie Sanders is quoted in this article by Jeff Stein from the Washington Post, we can move to an economy where workers feel that they are not just a cog in the machine, one where they have power over their jobs and can make decisions. Democracy isn't just the opportunity to vote. What democracy really means is having control over your life. So Bernie is really trying to make the case that we have to expand the vision of what democracy can mean. And it really has to include the workplace. It has to have provisions that allow workers to have a say, not just when they elect their congresspeople or mayor or president or senator or what have you, but when they go through their day-to-day life. And while Bernie Sanders doesn't have a whole lot of specifics yet, Jeff Stein in that piece in the Washington Post outlines two broad policies. One of them, which is sort of being borrowed from Elizabeth Warren, is that big companies would be required to give 40% of their board seats to workers, which would mean that you couldn't just have this big company where everyone seems to be represented except the people doing the actual work, and that those people would be given real power and real voice and real representation within the company's, highest echelons. And another factor is requiring a fund to be set up where companies would put aside stock in the company, which would be given collectively to the workers and would pay out dividends to the workers, but would give the workers a sort of block of ownership in the company, which would again give them a piece of the pie. Because the way ownership in a publicly traded company works is that if you have a share, you have a vote, but if you have many shares, you have many votes. So giving workers a substantial piece of a company pie, either through board seats or through stock ownership, or both, is a way of creating a new form of collective action for workers within companies. This is the start of democratic socialism. It's not going to get us all the way there. It's not the worker control of industry in a direct or cooperative sense. It isn't the ownership of the commanding heights of the economy, the very biggest and most monopolistic and most essential industries being owned by public entities, being owned by the state or by the country or by the municipality or what have you. But it is a great first step. You see, what Bernie Sanders is really good at is being a leader, but also knowing where people are. And the whole point about bringing people to new ideas is that you have to do so gracefully and carefully. Not everyone is going to instantly want a full transition to socialism. In the United States, given the history of anti-socialist propaganda, most people, even a good chunk of progressives, would not be willing or ready to make such a move. But by Bernie Sanders talking about, one, the sort of universal social programs 99% of the population need, and two, increasing workplace democracy by lowering the power of corporate elites, he is introducing this broad concept of socialism to a population in an accessible manner that speaks to their day-to-day concerns and their day-to-day interests. And this is crucial because a lot of people understand that the corporate power is too concentrated. And while not everyone is comfortable yet with the idea of increased public ownership of industry, most people want to have more control in their day-to-day life. They want to feel like they have a say. They want to feel like they matter, and their voice matters, and the decisions they make matter. And many of the people who voted for Trump, not to excuse those people, but many of the people who voted for Trump did so out of desperation because they didn't feel like they had control in their lives. And they didn't feel like the system as it existed represented them. And so the solution isn't a xenophobic Trumpism, but the solution may well be increased control by workers of their communities and their workplaces and the wider economy, to give more agency to the broad working class that under traditional forms of capitalist ownership are largely disenfranchised. So this is incredibly important. Bernie Sanders hammering home the idea that his vision is not just about free stuff, quote unquote, through social programs. It's about transforming the structure of the American economy to better include the voices and perspectives of the working people who make everything run. And it's the first step towards building a democratic socialist future. And so I think for a lot of us on the left who maybe see a more ambitious vision about worker ownership and democratic control of the means of production, I think we should be critical and we should be skeptical of the limitations of Bernie's plan as we get more details. But we shouldn't just poo-poo it, be all, a socialist hipster type who says, well, that's not real socialism. The reality is that we need to build constructively with allies who are willing to engage in good faith with the ideas that underpin socialist ideology. And this is one of those ideas. It won't get us all the way there. It'll have some pitfalls, but we need to be there to engage with it. So at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren to some degree, talking about ways in which to introduce workplace democracy into mainstream American presidential candidate level discourse is incredibly important. It's incumbent upon us on the left to support these ideas and help popularize them and help give them legitimacy and ensure that Bernie Sanders isn't just left hanging alone as he talks about these ideas, but that he has allies in the labor movement and on the left and in communities talking about how it's important that when workers control the economy, a democracy could never be healthier. And that when a capitalist elite controls the economy, our democracy is constantly imperiled, and all that we've achieved can be rolled back so easily by the powers that be. So this is a fantastic opportunity. We have a man running for president who is offering to people, like they've never seen before, a democratic socialist vision. Let's seize that opportunity and let's push forward. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It'll really help me out, and it'll help share this message that democratic socialist values go beyond universal social programs and really go into the day-to-day lives of working people as they try to find a voice within this neoliberal era that we're trying to tear down. And I want to know what you think. Do you feel that Bernie Sanders' proposal to increase the democratic control in the workplace is a good one? Do you feel that he needs to talk about other issues specifically to help further this idea? Do you think that perhaps this is a good start given where we think the American public are on discussions of democratic socialism and things of the like? Leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to read and respond to many of them. And also, if you have the means, I would really appreciate your support on Patreon. Supporting me there helps improve the quality and quantity of content, and it helps to diversify YouTube to bring more left-wing perspectives to the platform that's so dominated by the alt-right. If we want to build a socialist future, we need to have discourse in as many places as possible about what that means. And if you support me on Patreon, I'll be sure to do my part that extra little bit more. So thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.